Now here's a question for you. How to examine an antique Chinese box and what's it worth? I'm going to teach you how to look past the obvious. And once you know how to do this, an antique like this, I promise you, can tell you so much more than initially meets the eye. And you're going to know whether it's an original antique or a dirty, rotten fake. First of all then, let's take just a few moments to look at the obvious. Well, the box is Chinese, it's an antique, it was made around 1880, it's got a rather nice lift-up lid and a delightful slide-out drawer to the side. It's got a lovely warm colour patination to it, and you know what, you'll never find an identical box like it. And it's remarkable value for money. I'll tell you what it's worth in a moment. But here comes the exciting bit, because I want to teach you how to look at this box in a completely different way, with fresh, deeper, searching, more inquisitive eyes, to teach you how you can learn so much more about an object just by looking at it in a different way and asking yourself certain questions. Here we go. Ask yourself about the shape. What is it? It's much more than just a decorative box. The shape of this piece is actually in the form of a Chinese sofa. There is the seat, side arms, and a sloping resting back. And when not in miniature form like this, these sofas were often so big that they'd also be used as beds. So the first thing to know that this box is actually, in fact, a miniature Chinese ancient sofa bed. I just love this thing. And to prove it to you that this really is a Chinese sofa bed, take a look underneath what is supposed to be the seat. And that's this rail here, this long, thin rail. That's the support rail for the seat. And the thing that's supporting that rail, you will see to both sides here, if you look very carefully, you will see two legs, cabriole legs. Follow the brush. Here's the shape of the cabriole. There's the apron to the base of the sofa, another cabriole leg there, giving the impression that all of this is open beneath the sofa. But it's the decoration on this piece that will teach us so much more. Decoration on antiques generally will always have some sort of significance, especially when it comes to Oriental pieces. Remember, decoration is never random. There's a message here, and I'm going to tell you what message this ancient box is sending from the distant past direct to you. The first message comes from these two areas, here and here. Think dragons in profile, and this will all make perfect sense. So this piece is flanked by a pair of dragon heads. Powerful, auspicious creatures in Chinese culture. Dragons represent authority, and it was often believed that emperors were descended from dragons. They're fearsome protectors, and being positioned exactly where they are, they're effectively taking the weight, holding up the seating, sleeping area and offering protection to whomever is sitting or sleeping here, and protection, of course, to the owner of the box. Now look below. What about these two cheeky little characters here? Now you might be thinking that they look like dogs playing underneath the sofa, and you'd be kind of half right. They're actually Buddhistic lion dogs, mythical creatures. You can also call them shishi dogs or dogs of foe. The little shishi dogs are lesser in status to the dragon, so they're positioned below, but they represent success, prosperity, and guardianship. And just like the dragons above, they are there. They are lion, Buddhistic, protecting dogs, looking after you, the owner of the box. Now, what about the colour of the body, that worn, lovely, patinated look? Well, I think focus in on the top here. This is probably the best example. It's worn, it's water stained, it looks like there's some ink stains on there. Fascinatingly also, there's little dribbles, little blobs of what maybe look like red wax. That's what you call patination. That takes 140 years to get to that point. You never want to restore that, maybe put a bit of wax on it, but it looks good. And here is just double confirmation that this is indeed a genuine antique. So now let's just fold the lid up and look at the contrast in colour. The interior has not seen the light of day for 140 years. The top has worn, the interior has not. So that deep red, high polish finish is exactly what the whole box would have looked like in around 1880 when it was new. But because the interior has been locked away for 140 years, it hasn't deteriorated. And the difference, the contrast in the top to the bottom is perfect and just what you want to see. However, don't celebrate yet, because there are loads of checks you need to make on a potential antique to confirm it is an antique. Colour and patination is not always the only thing to look out for. So here's a really good tip when examining anything that you think may well be antique. Look for evidence of something being handmade. So look for imperfections, because when something is handmade, little imperfections will crop up, and these little imperfections make antiques perfect. So stick to the top of the box again. I'm just going to move it around in the light. In fact, I'll bring it to you. And I want you to concentrate on this back panel here. And as I move it, I'm hoping you will be able to see evidence of cabinet maker marks where he's cut and shaped the back. It's not perfect. It has not been made by a machine. It's evidence that that back shape has been created with handheld tools. Just little things that you would not ordinarily notice unless you were particularly looking for it. A really good thing to look at is construction. Let me find a good spot for you. Okay, look at the dovetails. The way that this box has been put together, the construction has been glued together, jointed and glued. Here are your dovetails. Take a close look at those dovetails and ask yourself, are they perfect? You're looking for imperfections, don't forget. You're looking for irregular shaped dovetails, and you'll see that each dovetail, if you look carefully, is not exactly the same as the next, showing that the tails have been cut by hand using hand tools. Same applies on the little slidey out drawer. But the best telltale sign on this box are three tiny little dowels. And I promise you, these dowels I'm going to show you right now have probably never been seen by anybody in 140 years. You wouldn't look for them. But I want you to get your eye in. It's going to be a bit difficult here. There's one, let me use the brush. There's one here. I'll zoom in a minute. Here and here. Hand cut, tiny little pegs, dowels, which are part of the structure of the box holding the back board to the sides. So just part of its manufacturing, but very well disguised, tiny, beautiful quality, handmade, and just shows how ancient this thing really is. So how much then do you think this thing is worth now? Well, I'm getting there, just a few more moments, but before I put the valuation on it, I've got to show you something else, a few other things to give you some guidance in how to examine an object like this, any antique in actual fact, and that is always look at the bottom. The bottom will tell you so much more than you can ever imagine, and that is pottery, porcelain, backs of paintings, bottoms of boxes. So here we go. Again, I'm going to point out something, get this the right way around. I've broken plenty of antiques in my time, don't you worry. There it is. Right. Can you see a signature on the bottom of this box? If you just turned it over and had a quick cursory glance, you'd see nothing but some old stains. Look closer. There is a Chinese 3-character mark on the base of this box. Now that is either the signature of the cabinet maker who made it about in 1880, the original owner, or maybe even a shop mark from the retailer. We don't really know. It doesn't really matter. It's just fabulous to see it. So hang on. Even I can't see it. Here we go. 3-character mark. Start from the top 1, middle 2, bottom 3. Isn't that delicious? And the final question when it comes to this box that you need to ask yourself is this. What was the box originally made for? What was its original purpose? Now, there will be evidence here. There's always evidence with antiques. And this is crucial to look for this evidence. And of course, it could have been a sewing box, a stationery box, jewellery, a painter's box, collector's box, anything you like. But when you look closely, you will discover what this box was used for. Take a look on the inside without dropping a drawer. Can you see ink stains? There are definite ink stains in there. Ink stains, no doubt about it. Now pull the drawer out. There's no expense spared here with my equipment. Look at that. Hang on, I'm going to take it all the way out. Can you see that red patch right in the middle? Well, that is wax. Sealing wax, not for the roof of your house. It's sealing wax for documents, letters, that kind of thing. So there is no doubt about it. This box, at some point in its life, and for a very, very long period of time, was owned by a writer. Now I'm going to tell you what it's worth, and not before time I can hear you scream. But this just goes to prove what remarkable value for money real antiques really are. So Chinese box circa 1880 is worth £400.